everyone's having a good day. We are super thrilled to host the MasterChef Australia 2019 contestant Sandeep Pandit to our kitchen.
KOA and KOA Youth would like to extend a warm welcome to Sandeep ji, and we are so excited that he's a part of our annual KOA camp today.
Thank you so much. Toshu taga kashir pat kath karin kina na?
Satya bakwas, so I will not even.
Ad kehna parwa. Varkar az hishno as karo is kashir pat kath. Mete us kashir yuthi pat kya she lakchar chu mol moish diman aise aise diman pazar. Winken hagav na kerit. Winken karan police as phone gasabe jail social hackne be bilkul hi bardash kerit. Panchu hatnas be budul. मगर लक्ष्य अगर इस कश्मीर पे काट करो पापा उसने क्यों ज़्यादा सिद्ध खुश आसान ऐसा उस वारिय सिंपल असूल ऐसे इस बैंगलोर कश्मीर पर बैंगलोर गमित पापा उसने अंग्रेज़ करियो स्कूल हिंदी करियो स्कूल मगर गाड़ी से कश्मीर या कन्नड़ करान कैसे कश्मीर मशहूर कन्नड़ दिनानो रोज़ में I mean I can speak both these languages pretty well however I do understand कि वारियां लुकन चन कश्मीर तीच fluent Mecho आजकल आसान 4-5 अंग्रेजी शब्द जो मित्र कहतान कश्मीर में देते so I'll try to be as bilingual or possibly trilingual as possible अगर का सोन बर्ड्स से हमसे बिल्कुल ही कश्मीर चलता I'm happy to speak in English या हाँ का हिंदी पढ़ते काट करे तो अगर कहीं से कन्नड़ चलता भाग कन्नड़ पढ़ते काट करे ठीक है so please bear with me
with that in mind
with that note I'm from Bangalore I'm ready for that
oh Bangalore is in my heart Bangalore is my soul.
Definitely, all Kashmiris and Karnataka are always connected to each other, no matter what.
Absolutely. Bangalore, so Kashmir is my birth mother. Bangalore is Karnataka is the mother that nurtured and got us up. So always thankful to Kannadigas. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಕನ್ನಡಿಗ ಅವರು ಇದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನನ್ನ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ನಾನು ಒಬ್ಳೆ ಕನ್ನಡದೊಳಗೆ ಸದ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ನಿಮಗೆ.
And also. I don't know, it's a small world, I should say, like, we know Kuldeep uncle very well.
Thank you so much. I'm blessed.
Yeah, हमारे घर के हर एक function में uncle is the main person. So
thank you.
I was super excited to be part of this program. Main two things. One is definitely I'm a Kashmiri bohu, married to a Kashmiri. One is that. Second one is connected to Karnataka, 2 ways. One is through uncle. And second one is with the dish you made the lemon rice. I really love to know that. How did you got making a lemon rice and winning it?
I will come to that. I will definitely come to that. But let's begin. I know I'm just being a bit conscious of time. I'm sure there are other things as well. But I will get to MasterChef stories as well. Let's banao Kanuguch Palav. And I'll try to be, I'll try to speak in both languages because I understand possibly not everyone is as fluent in Kashmiri. What we are going to do, like in regular kitchen or in MasterChef kitchen or in my kitchen, you cannot do one recipe at a time and start the other, and we don't have time for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do both the recipes in tandem. Don't worry about it. If anyone is cooking along, I hope not. Please don't cook along. But if you want the recipe, I'm going to post it on my Instagram. Yes, that's available. I'm going to be doing videos on this as well. And if anyone is still interested, I'm happy to write an email and just mention all the ingredients. These recipes.
I'm not too much on social media, definitely not on Instagram and not much. So I love to have that recipe on email.
Definitely. So you could make a note as well. I've tried to make it as simple as possible. But then, yes, these recipes are traditional. And the reason I chose these 2 recipes are particularly the Kanuguchu Palav. These are dried morels, which are soaked in hot water.
Okay.
A lot of people in our generation, my generation, or possibly the generation after me, don't know that Kashmir used to have incredible produce. And the reason for that was it was in the confluence of Central Asia, India, and the Orient, China. So it was right in the middle of the Silk Route. The way we see Kashmir today, the valley, is not how Kashmir traditionally was. Sharika Peeth is in Pakistan. Or Pak-occupied Kashmir, as we call it. So the whole of the valley is actually a large, abundant area, blessed to have produce from Central Asia, produce from the rest of India, and from China. So the traditions of eating morels is ancient. All right, so without further ado, what I'll do is, let's start with Kawaga, because I'm going to do both these recipes in tandem. But before we do Kawaga, if you guys, agar kanuguch palav banaun. Aap inch hamish dry asan. These are dried. Aap getse grakdevun point round and let it sit. What happens is it'll start seeping its color and its flavor into the water. We're going to use that water and these guchis, which become like dried dates. It's a very, very, very expensive ingredient, as you can see. And this one, this entire bowl was about 15 grams. So it swells up to a decent size, but they look like dried, dried dates. So just soak
Sandeep,
them in.
I'm guessing. So these were dried completely, like dehydrated kinds. They're not fresh.
Absolutely, they're not fresh.
Thanks.
And
So
they're
one
available
thing.
on Amazon too. I think they are available on Amazon.
Absolutely. I think in India they're incredibly expensive. Whatever is grown in India usually gets exported. These are the ones that came. These are French models, very similar to the Indian gucci, kanaguchi we call them in Kashmiri that we get. Magar ye hamesha dried asan. Fresh guchis actually are mildly toxic, so you can't really have them. They grow on the mountains under the pine trees, so you can't really have them. They have to be dried near a fire, and that drying process puts those mild toxins away, and that's when you can use it. So boiling water. I have about a cup of rice. This is basmati rice. Wash it a couple of times. Pachi was now. I'm such those. I don't. Kashmiris and rice are a match made in heaven. If I tell anyone how to cook rice in this forum, I think I'm just excuse my audacity. The intent wasn't to teach you how to cook rice. Magar, just for those kids who are a bit new to, who think that eating rice is not cool. Actually, eating rice is quite cool. Look at me. I have been eating rice all my life. It got me so many laurels, even in MasterChef. Just kidding. Soak the rice up in water. We're going to throw this water away, and we're going to be cooking the pulao in the models water. All right. So I've got my kanaguch prep done. I'll keep it aside. Let's get going on kabarga. Okay. So for kabarga, the choice piece of meat is actually the frontal section of the lamb. It's called the flaps or the breast piece. Now, when I went to the US last time, Tachivaria, Australia, New Zealand, as far as what I've been told, US is not very big on farming sheep. So you guys get a lot of lamb from courtesy Australia, New Zealand. Agar to if lamb chu karun use, so I trim it quite a bit. You need fat on kabarga. Don't get me wrong. It is a dish which is had with the fat and a little bit of that intermuscular tissue. But the amount of fat that these winter-fed lambs have is almost like half an inch. This dish already is heart attack on a plate. You don't want to don't want to take it so far. So just trim it a bit. And then we're just going to place it in a pan or in a deep sort of a dish here. I'll get myself a paper towel. And then it's quite simple from there. If anyone has any questions, can I have someone who's moderating look at the chat and tell me any questions? I'll be happy to answer. It's very hard for me to look at the chat. Atrao is point. Ishme thoda garam point thomat taki jaldi run. We are obviously not going to be using this cut. Like any self-respecting chef, I've made some in advance. It's very hard to make kabarga live and eat it too. And I intend to eat my kabarga. So I'm just gonna bring it to boil.
So one question I have is, how and when did you start cooking?
Well, I was, for me, cooking actually came as a necessity. When we migrated from Kashmir, we went to Bangalore. Mummy was working in HMT. Dad he was in private enterprise and he had to quit his job. The Patialis Bangalore work. Mom was always working, dad was always working. And in Kashmir, we didn't need a fridge and we didn't need to cook as often because the whole family was there. But in Bangalore, we couldn't afford a fridge. So mom would cook food in the morning for us to come back from school and eat, and food would rot. I mean, it would spoil in the Bangalore summer. And at that point of time, she taught me how to boil food. That's how it started. But then one day she was coming back from office, and I just made a crude my version of tea, and she had tears in her eyes. I couldn't really understand, have I goofed up or have I done something magnificent? Her hug kind of made me understand that it was something good. And वो जो so joy is ना son, it's, and I'm sure as a parent I understand it now. Uh, that that hug was very different. That's the best reward I've got in my life. And food became a happy place. Kitchen was the place where I would escape from our everyday reality as a migrant trying to carve out a life. It was hard. It was hard for a 9-year-old, 8-year-old. It was very hard. So that's how it started. I'm pretty sure a lot of other people have similar stories.
Yeah, I have the same story with my younger one. He's just 12 years old. And he started first day, like we both, me and Anil were busy, very busy in meetings and everything. We didn't get time to cook. And I was thinking what I'll make some noodles. He came down. I don't know how. He made orange chicken, Chinese orange chicken, and he served us.
Wow.
Yeah, easy. I'd like to introduce him. Come here, Arav. He loves to cook. He's my younger one, Arav Ganju.
Hey.
He loves to cook. He cooks so many dishes. I don't know, lobsters and everything. He surprises every day for us. So he
awesome.
was reminded me. Really, that day I was not able to tell what I felt. He served us on the table with hot butter and orange chicken curry. That was not expected. 12 years. He was 11 years old. Now he is 12.
I can relate to it because I'm pretty sure if my mom was explaining that moment, that's what she would say. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. All right. On to the recipe here. Yatren mein maine kihin te masala. I have not added any spices or anything. When you add meat to water, it always there's a bit of scum that comes out, and it's very important that you clear it before you add any spices. So I'm just gonna get rid of that scum.
Is there a reason why we need to remove that? Is it necessary? Yeah, it is mandatory, or it's okay? Why is that?
These are like the impurities and the blood impurities of meat that come out. Okay. If I was making stock, this is also it's a similar recipe to how you would make bone stock. If I was making stock, if I don't remove the scum, it makes it cloudy. It makes the stock cloudy. It makes the final broth very cloudy. It'll and when you try to fry it, if it gets stuck to the meat, and when you try to fry it, it'll burn and it'll darken the entire oil. That's the reason.
Okay. That's a good point.
So I'm going to get rid of that.
Thank you, Indu. Thank you, Meenakshi. Thank you.
So Sandeep ji, can this also be made with goat meat?
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. In India, a lot of people like what we call mutton is actually goat meat, but we Kashmiris are true connoisseurs of mountain lambs, and I'm so fortunate that in Australia you get a lot of it.
Even I do with the goat because time I don't get the fresh lamb here. I get Australian lamb, but that is not fresh for us. So, but definitely lamb gives a different taste.
Very, very different taste. I think Kashmiri mein it used to be kata maaz ya chawil maaz. That's some parts of my Kashmiri which are still a work in progress. So I've taken out some of the scum from here. I'll just save you guys the blushes and not end up cooking the entire dish over here. Once you have the broth a little clear, as I almost have it here, I've got an assortment of spices, KhyenChen masala. I've got some bay leaf, black cardamom, green cardamom, some cinnamon. One thing that's non-Kashmiri over here is star anise, but I like the aniseediness of it. It reminds me of burdian or saunf, and it works really well with meat. So it's an assortment of different spices.
What is that?
Some jeera.
Okay.
Some jeera, some cumin, some black cardamom, bay leaves, all of it goes in. Now, all Kashmiris would know our Kashmiri Garam Masala or Zervil Masala. So I make my own. My brand is called the Spice Angel. The Garam Masala that I make is the Kashmiri Zervil Masala. The difference between Kashmiri Garam Masala and the rest of the world Garam Masala is that there are no red chilies and no coriander in this.
Is this something
If you do,
what is called as var?
it's called in Kashmiri. It's called Zervil
Var.
Masala.
Okay.
No, not Var. This is not Var. Var has got fenugreek and chilies in it.
Mhm.
This is called Zervil Masala. It has got all the premium spices. So the bare minimum what you need in this are cardamom, bay leaves, cinnamon, both the cardamoms actually, some cloves, and predominantly cumin. It's a cumin-based garam masala. So I'm going to put about a teaspoon in this. And I'll not mix it with that. I'll just mix it with this one.
So
one other thing that, yeah, go ahead.
When you make this garam masala, do you roast them? Everything? Just you roast all those?
Ideally, yes. You just roast everything. It gives it a bit more chocolatey sort of taste.
Mhm.
There I go talking my chefy way. But it does. It gives a very toffee-like notes. And if you don't roast it, it tastes completely different. I've got some milk here with saffron. Now this is a little bit of a detour. Varya luk chunu kong traman, Kawaga husbands. Varya luk was leather traman. So a lot of cooks, they end up putting haldi, turmeric in it. I prefer to put saffron. 1 traditional, 2 rich, 3 I just like saffron a lot. Gives it a tinge of color as well. But if you do not have saffron, don't worry about it. It's an optional thing. You don't need it. Preferably keep the milk a little warm before it goes in. And that's what I'm going to do. I'll just put it in my microwave. I'll give it a 35-second blitz. And that's pretty much it to the initial part of making a kabarga. A lot of folks will tell you that you should do it in the pressure cooker. The thing is, the Australian lamb is actually lamb. It's very tender. If I cook it in what surprisingly I've seen, and that's what costed me my MasterChef apron on the first cook. That Australian lamb and younger lamb, they tend to firm up a lot inside a pressure cooker, and then you have to really pressure cook it for a very long time before it tenderizes. I've seen that these recipes work really well if you just leave them to slow cook for about 45 minutes. My milk and saffron decoction is now ready, and I'm just going to pour it in this. Make sure that I get all the saffron. This is about a cup of milk. It makes the dish quite rich.
Sandeep, is there a reason why you wouldn't start from like a milk and a water mixture and add milk
Yeah,
later?
absolutely. 1, the milk will split. If you start with the milk, it'll split. 2, taking out the scum becomes very hard. Sometimes that scum is acidic, milk will split. It has happened to me way too many times. And beyak cheese chi asan. Agar ye dodsi months banao na, if we end up making it in milk, this dish is rich. I mean, I'm still gonna fry it after this. If you add only milk to it, it's heart attack on a plate for sure. It still is, but this way I just make it a little bit more palatable. All right, so I've got this going now. I'll put it on my back burner there, but that's how it'll look. And please, please, please do not get rid of this broth. I'll tell you why. This broth is gold. It is the best lamb mutton soup shorba that you can ever have. We'll come to it in a while. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this off from here. I'll put it on my slow burner. I'm sure you can still hear me because courtesy, thank God, technology. I'll just pop a lid on top of it, and I'm just going to let it slow cook conveniently for about a good 45 minutes. I mean, I've just got to go and see but it takes about 45 minutes to an hour, maybe a little bit more. If you let it cook for longer than that, it's just going to disintegrate. So this dish is a little time critical. You've seen there are no complicated things that go into a kabarga. It does look like a very complicated dish. Complications in Kashmiri cooking are the techniques of cooking. They're not the ingredients. Ingredients are pretty much your, daily use spices. All right, so
So do
that's cooking.
you need to keep it a little firm and not too soft so that when you fry it
Yes,
still holds up?
yes, and I'll show you. I'll show you how that looks. What you should do, and we'll come to it in some time. It has to be. It shouldn't be like falling off the bone and completely, going all over the place. But the meat should be soft enough that if you just like put a fork in it, it's coming apart. I have got some prepared, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so as that's cooking, we'll keep it on the back burner. We will turn our focus and attention onto the kuchi pulao because I want to have at least one dish that is plated. Gucci pulao looks little unlikely that it might get plated on time. So Kawaga will get ready because I have got some ready already. All right. Kanguchi, we will start with obviously a pot in which because we've got to cook rice in this. Can I get the lid, please? I might have just kept the lid somewhere. I don't think that one will work. There's a smaller one inside. I don't think that will work as well. There's a smaller one. Sorry, some little bit of an issue. Okay, got my lid saved. All right, now I have got my pot here. I will just turn it on. Any questions, guys? Anything about Kashmiri cooking? Anything about? I'm a food geek as well. Shortly, ये program Australia's SBS Foodismans India Unplated. I'll be hosting that. Tatmanch ऐसे so we're basically showing regional cooking of India and trying to get the Western population out of the curry mentality and more into regional cooking. I have because I was there. They dedicated an entire episode to Kashmir. My co-hosts made kavarga, which was their take on kavarga. I have made tomato gourd, which is my mother's and father's favorite thing to eat. So yeah, whenever it comes out, I'll let you guys know.
Definitely.
So I've got some. Now, kanaguchi as such is a delicate flavor. You want to enhance that flavor. You don't want to overpower it. We're not going to add a lot of stuff to it. We'll start with dry roasting some bay leaf, stick of cinnamon. I've got some cumin, crushed earl, sabaz, green cardamom, very bud earl arc. Be very careful when you use the the black cardamom. It's a very strong flavor, so one would suffice. One little tip: yelite toy masala shu banaman, yelite ke ranun aise. You should always dry roast your spices first before you add your fat. What happens is this activates the oil inside your dry spices, and the moment fat hits it, which is ghee in this case, it infuses itself much better to the fat.
Oh.
The other way around, when you heat the fat and add these spices, they tend to burn and lock up their oils a little bit more. Try this way. It's given me it was appreciated by some of the best chefs I know across the world. Okay, so spices in. I'm going to put about, say, a spoonful of ghee. Maybe a little bit more because I'm greedy and I'm fat. And I'm hungry. It's morning, 9:45 here. This is most likely going to be breakfast. So forgive me if I'm indulging.
Breakfast of champions.
Breakfast of Zamtus.
I actually have seen zamturs being served mats and parathe in the morning for breakfast.
Oh, wow. And my wife is here. I'm sure she's listening. Hadbi boost. Manam mat is divan.
Don't push your luck, dude. Don't push your luck. आपको ही बनाना पड़ेगा.
If you see a blue eye in the morning, you know what happened. All right, so I've got these. The soil is frying. I'm now going to put in the guchis. Let me just put them in a bowl. doing demos in the kitchen is always amazing because I know where the stuff is. It's very hard when we do this in the studios. So I'll just, this water is gold. ये हमेशा preserve करूँ. ये तरह भी आप couple months. As you can see, I've just left a tiny bit at the end. Sometimes the models that you may get contain, these grow in the mud. They grow near the roots of the pine trees. They sometimes have mud right into the ridges, and that mud comes out. So there's a little bit of, I don't know if you can see the bit of residue. Some of it could be mud. Not that I can feel it, but I just want to be careful. So I have a yield of about.
Isn't it Gucci? There are some impurities. We have to basically wash them first, then soak them. Okay. Yes. That was because.
So when you soak them, they actually get washed. What you could also do is let's imagine it's there in the water like this. All right? Yeah, they expand. Yeah, just like scrub them a little bit. You can scrub them a little, and that. There's usually the ones which are available now are usually farmed, and there are good practices that they follow to take out the mud, but you never know. No. It's better never. You can't have Zamtur eating mud, can you?
Well, sometimes they need it. Once a while.
Yishun boson. Sorry.
So Sandeep, I'm guessing food was a big part of culture while growing up.
Absolutely. I mean, you're a Kashmiri too. You would know that's like it's the central to our existence. Migration guy, sorry, go ahead.
No, but growing up, what was your favorite Kashmiri food or non-Kashmiri food or the first
Rogan Josh
you cooked?
Oh, Rogan. I mean, not Kashmiri food favorite. Nothing matches it. If you're a Vaishnav, then Damolav, of course, but nothing like Nenjabata, which is lamb in any shape or form. I'm just going to cut some of these. They look pretty big. And for vegetarian Kashmiri foods, it was almost always Damalu. It took me 8 years to get it right. I know some people might just freak out. It's like it took me a lot of time to get Damalu right. You can take way long. Because for me, getting the food right is about being consistent with it. Now, non-Kashmiri food, we were blessed to be in Bangalore. And I guess soul food, if I have to say, for me, is Anna Saru, which is rice and sambar. That's what we call in Kannada. That's absolute bliss. Nothing beats it with a little bit of papad on the side. Apla, we call it in Kannada. And upinkai, which is achar or pickle.
Yes.
That's like. Okay, so I've just drained my rice here. I've got the guchis frying pretty nicely. This is going to be hot. Just a second. You just need a light sizzle on it. Nothing significant. They'll just open up a bit more. They're very meaty.
Oh.
Unlike other mushrooms, they don't wilt in heat. They take very well to heat.
So you did not put ginger, nothing in that, right? There is nothing.
Nothing. There's nothing. There are no other spices in this. There's just ghee, whole spices. I'm going to add some salt in a while and just guchi. You want to keep it, you can richen it up by adding a bit of saffron perhaps. Magar, keep it as close to possible to that moral Kanaguchu flavor. Those in itself are like, they're quite rich, quite meaty. They have a very earthy sort of a flavor. So I'm just going to be a little careful because this rice has been soaking for a while. It's quite delicate. You need basmati rice for this. You need aged basmati rice. Sarikot asal tomul asari dekhana pai yes tomulak ya very thand very asan like me 8 karan 6 sarikot asal asan. So this one is I think this is about a year and a half aged basmati rice. soak it for about 20-30 minutes. That reduces its starch content, and it'll also ensure that the final grain is quite fluffy. And I'm just going to be very gentle, because if you are very hard, if you go at it really hard, the rice grains are going to break and the final product is going to be very sticky. So you got to be very gentle, carefully do this. That's about a cup of rice. I'll add a cup of the moral water, flavor on flavor. And then, how are we doing on time? Okay. I'll add another cup of, maybe just less than a cup of hot water, because this is going to be absorption method of cooking. You don't have to add like 1:2 ratio of rice. Absorption method takes a little less than that. All right, so I'll just mix it up. This is a real vegetarian treat. One of the best things that you could make for even European friends, American friends who don't understand Indian cooking, who expect you to cook butter chicken and naan when they're at your place. Treat them to this. They'll be really surprised. I'll season it with some salt. Salt is all. You'll never see me mention how much salt in my recipes, because to me it's a personal choice. Give it a nice little stir. And just get rid of everything here. Any questions on this dish? Any questions about Kashmiri food, Indian food in general? Please go ahead.
I have a question, Sandeep ji.
I
am basically vegetarian, so I need your authentic damalu recipe. I'm very fond of damalu. That's the only thing I'm very fond of. So how can I reach you?
Well, means website is spread Marache. So recipe leak it. I have not made a video of it yet, but I mean, I don't use the word authentic. The reason she is, between from one house to another, the recipes had a subtle change.
Exactly.
So I call them traditional recipes, and you'll rarely see me call, like, I'll never say that this is my authentic Kashmiri Gucci pulao. Everybody had their own take on the Kanaguch pulao. So this is the traditional way of making it. You can take a detour depending on what your family's choices were. So the traditional Kashmiri recipe of damalu is on my website. It's called the spiceangel.com. You'll have to search for it. Yeah, Spice Angel. The Spice Angel.
Okay, spice, one word.
Yeah, the Spice Angel is one word. Even if you put Sandeep Pandit's website, that's on Google, you'll get that.
We'll provide the information after the session. Yeah, we'll provide the information after the session.
All right. So what I'm going to do is, Bidimiya thoda run, yaad ke thoda sa baate ho tum yun. Aadin pe thoda dum. So I'm going to cook it on steam. I'll put it on the low burner here. My kabarga is boiling away to glory, so I'll just open the lid up there. I'll actually finish that off later. I'm going to take this and we will get to making kabarga now. Suban chai se kabarga. That's मजा ही पानो ना लगे.
बहुत गलत बात है. सब लोग हमारे husband हमसे यही expect करेंगे.
Sorry, I'll just get this on.
Geeta, you should expect husbands to watch the video and cook it.
Varka, vanges vranun. Vanges no, maan nahi kaise.
I'm going to try it, Sandeep ji.
Yay. Absolutely, please do it. And I'll tell you honestly, it's not a very complicated dish. You have to take keep few things in mind. It is not actually a very complicated. Both of these dishes, I wish were. You shouldn't worry about complicated. But says rana nita throw kanugush motor. Thoda sa gyav throw.
Jadsu mein hechun ye.
Kabarga.
Kanugush pulao, I'll probably get it.
मैं बार तोर फिक्री की तो इश्यू वाशने वार करती मेचे कानुगुच was my second choice. मैं उन बड़ा ही मैं उन कौड़े बनाऊं काबरगा पद बनाऊं कानुगुच वाला.
By the way, surprising, I am a vegetarian. Which is vegetarian, मगर मैं चुप sorry, which is कुनी vegetarian गारस में बाकी सारी खावा.
तेलुगु जात तो मैं इन तरफ बोर्ड नमस्कार कैसे. You're reminding me of one of my uncles, Sumancha Cole uncle. timo throw soon kan yan migration is gamat magar timis varya asal soon rana without tasting a bit. I mean, you would never get the seasoning wrong, nothing wrong. So I'm pretty sure you're an accomplished cook. Back back to the recipe. I've taken some refined oil. I am not a big fan of refined oil. I hate refined oil. 90% of my cooking is not on refined oil. The reason I'm showing you this version is a lot of people find cooking in ghee a bit too excessive, and understandably so. तो इस क्या करा तो सांच Sunandan kara namaskar agar I think he's my brother Sunandan Handu Asun Kalakar. If it's him, hello, namaskar to you too. He's a wonderful Kashmiri artist.
Yeah,
Sorry, back to the recipe.
Please hang on after the show. He's going to join us and
Oh,
do a comedy bit for us. So
excellent. So isme actually Mama ji un ladki shuk Kashmiri Zamut tati badu gomu. Wonderful, wonderful little boy. Mere liye to little boy, now he's a young man. All right. So as I was telling you about the oil, a lot of people gross out with the use of, I'll just switch it off, it's smoking, with the use of ghee. And I don't like using oil. So I've come to a healthy, happy compromise. I use half ghee, I use half oil, and I put a bit of ghee in that. It keeps the flavor intact. You use final dish, but it won't gross you out.
Well, ghee will never gross me out.
When you wish you, ye talni pata charo pati ye cut. Kosher pachana grin gasne. That doesn't actually mean grossing out. It actually means getting stuffed with a lot of fat. Grin gasan agar it can run off.
Actually, when you fry in ghee, it becomes too heavy. You can't have more than 2 pieces.
Very.
Fry it in the oil, you can have more pieces, and it don't makes you heavy. That's
see. I was actually putting my Zamtur hat on, and I was asking myself, what is the way that I can eat as many kabargas as possible without grossing myself out? Then I'm like, acha, I need to have the ghee flavor, but I need it. I mean, still frying it in oil is quite rich, but I can still stick to maybe about 3 to 4 pieces. If it was ghee, I would possibly be able to do 1 or maybe 2. That's bad on my part. Magar man kya karavan chu buja ramat.
So, Sandeep ji, what do you say using a hair fryer for this, for kabarga?
No, never.
Never?
Using an air fryer for this is like me using an air fryer for damalu, and it doesn't work. It just won't work. So we tried, we actually tried a variation of this dish in India unplated, where we poached it in milk, and then it was actually one of the best chefs in Melbourne who made it, and we decided, all right, let's not put ghee and see what happens. It was all right. This is here, air fryer and everything is.
What would you say to like roasting it in an oven with lesser fat, or maybe grilling it on a charcoal grill?
I have tried it on charcoal grill. I have put it in the oven. Believe me, nothing compares to this. And I'm somebody who believes in not having a lot of oil in the food and all of that. Some dishes just don't work. There must have been a reason that it took a few hundred years to perfect this dish. From the time Vazwans came from Samarkand all the way to Kashmir, all these cooking traditions are Central Asian. That's where we have learned it from. And Uzbeks and others started coming in larger numbers and settling in Kashmir. These are the traditions that the local population, local produce, local lamb, they started making it. It took a few hundred years, possibly 1,000 years to get it this far. I don't think any one of us in our generation can refine it any further. It can become like one of those lamb spare rib kind of dishes, which is yum, but nothing is like, it doesn't taste like kavarga, period.
Okay.
I have to show you guys this. This is what I had prepared earlier. You can see what you have to do is take the lamb once the pot is cooked, like I've got that pot over there. Once my lamb is cooked, allow it to cool over there, because if you try to pluck it at that point of time, it's very tender. Allow it to cool. Take the individual pieces out. You can see the layer of fat inside. It's quite significant, and I trimmed it to the best of my ability. Take some of these pieces out and keep them in a box so that they kind of dry out in the fridge before you fry them. It'll cause less sputtering. And before you fry them, if you've kept it in the fridge to just settle down a bit, before you fry them, put it in the microwave for about 30 seconds. It has to come to room temperature, because if it is too cold, it again does not cook really well. Okay, we have company. Although it's a lockdown, I think some delivery might have come.
Sandeep ji, a question.
Very mara.
So it should not say zamdos mas karan marinate before frying.
No.
No.
So I know such a technique. Yatman zamdodas manchi you marinate karna. Patiman dodas manranna. That's one of the ways of making it as well. But this is the way that I have always been making it. So I'm not. That's why I don't say this is the authentic recipe. It's a traditional way of making. There are multiple ways. The one which we made in the show was actually marinated in yogurt. So zamdodas mazamat karna. So I'll take this piece. I'll just see if the oil is hot by putting a bit. Yes, it seems to be okay. The good thing about cooking on inductions is the heat is consistent. I'll just put this on, maybe put another piece. It doesn't take a lot of time to fry. I'll just get a paper towel for myself. What you're looking for is oil that's slightly hot, not like really smoking. And the lamb is actually cooked. What we are trying to get is color on it.
So while we are cooking, Sandeep ji, एक question है, आपने कभी training लिया है? Have you ever taken in training or any?
No, never. So you're not eligible for MasterChef if you are a trained chef.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was not knowing that. That is.
On these lines of MasterChef, like how did you get drafted? Where did MasterChef come from?
I was a big fan of MasterChef when I was in India, and I came to Australia in 2016 December. So essentially 2017. Oh, this happens quite a bit. It'll sputter. So when I came here, I kind of fancied myself. I thought, all right, I'm like semi-decent. I should be able to do okay in MasterChef. And yes, that was the case. I got my PR, applied for MasterChef, and they were actually blown away by me in the initial auditions, because some of the folks over there, although the judges knew Indian food pretty well, the production team was still a little. You should make Peshawari naan and you should make butter chicken. I said, I'm not going to make Peshawari naan. Peshawar anyway isn't in India anymore. I'm going to make stuff that you've never heard of. And I'm going to make stuff that you've heard of and show you where it came from. Like I made Rogan Josh Tahar Haak Murchetting in my audition in an hour. But the Rogan Josh it didn't kind of fry very well. It didn't kind of soften. So I had to cook again. And in the second cook, I ended up making Mangalore prawn curry. And the judges were wowed because they usually had not seen a lot of cooks who could cook North Indian and South Indian cooking with that kind of an ease. All right, you guys have to be very careful when you're frying Kawaga, because this happens quite a lot. It sputters like crazy, but because we have saffron in it, I'm not sure how good the camera would be able to show it. It gets a beautiful golden tinge onto it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so seeing Tahar on your first plating was a very proud moment for us. Like the moment we saw Tahar, we're like, there is nothing that defines Kashmiri cuisine like cooking better than that.
And that's what even I gave them that analogy. I said, this is, I called it the Kashur Sal. That was the name of my dish. And that's why I said that this is what, if you would ever come to a Kashmiri place, 9 out of 10 times the household will welcome you with a Rogan Josh Tahar. If it's not Rogan Josh, it's Damolu, and there'll be Haak and Murchetting. And they said, why these 4 dishes? I said, between the 4 dishes, they balance each other out. Like the Tahar is the base because carbs are our base. And I'd put smoked mustard oil to flavor it. And then I said, Rogan Josh is for the richness and the fact that you're a welcome guest, we'll give you the best cuts of lamb. And then you have Murchetting was, I think, that blew everybody's mind, because the whole concept of adding yogurt onto radishes is alien in any culture, even in India. So when they had Murchetting, they were blown away. In fact, Gary, after the audition, had gone to India, specifically traveled to Kashmir and asked for some of the dishes. Sorry, any other questions? We're almost done here.
A Bangalore question for you.
Varkar, when you?
So first up, मैं actually Prahalika को भी बोल रहा था. somebody you might know from Bangalore, next door neighbor Koshin Call.
Bilkul, he's
Or
my younger,
Sunny-
he's a kid brother.
Sunny, as you remember him,
Uh-huh.
he lodged an official complaint saying that you've never thanked him because you tried all of these foods on him first. That is how deep our research goes.
That is not the only thing I've tried with Sunny. He forgot to tell you all my wrestling moves have also been tried on him.
Yeah, no, that is how deep our research. And like I was just looking up and I found out, and Asha is my masi.
Oh, Asha auntie, I was
Yes.
talking about Kol Uncle Ji, Sunny's father, and how Kol Uncle Ji does not eat meat but cooks the best meat I have ever had.
Bhushan uncle.
So, real Kol Uncle Ji. But about Sunny, beautiful, wonderful boy. The condition was very simple. Khe nat khak maar. यार भैया क्यों ऐसा करता है मेरे संग? ना या khe nat khe maar क्या khe? अच्छा ठीक है खिला दे.
So how did your time in Bangalore expose you to food beyond like the Kashmiri kitchen?
I mean, Bangalore is imagine 30 years back time when we migrated from Kashmir. So now more than that. And imagine going from Kashmir to South India. This is not the internet social media age. This is the age we used to travel 4 days in train and reach a place where coconuts grew on trees. That in itself was like a shocker to me. Ye kya gao? Ye kya ye then? And from then on, I had never eaten idli in my life. I had never eaten dosa in my life. I had never been open to other, any cuisine besides Kashmiri. And here I was, because for me, foreign cuisine, pardon the word, was Rajma Chawal in Jammu. And here I was eating something radically different. But then, honestly, I've come to believe that South Indian food is soul food. It is so balanced. It is so balanced. To me, it's one of the best cuisines on the planet. Our cuisine is good. It's rich. It's rare. The stuff Kashmiris we do with our food is unique in all across India. But South Indian food is exceptional. I mean, if you haven't had proper South Indian in a South Indian's home, be it a Tamilian, a Kannadiga, a Telugu, or even a Malayali for that matter, you must, and you will see how balanced it is. It is like a radical shift. It's not rich. It's got everything in it. But yeah, the only difference is Malayali cuisine. You have to get over your fear of eating coconut oil.
A friend of ours, Amrita, is saying rasam is life.
Rasam is heaven. Rasam is heaven. And it has so many variations. A lot of us don't know, and there are very strong traditions. Because of the foreign rules, we have forgotten that India had very strong naval traditions. So a lot of influences in South Indian cooking came from Southeast Asia. The way Southeast Asians, Indonesians, Javanese culture, particularly Western Sumatra, the way they cook is very similar to how they cook in South India. Only the ingredients are different. Like you will have, Southeast Asians may use a bit of pandang, lemongrass, and you have curry leaves on South India. But the cooking techniques are incredibly similar. When I was in MasterChef, I did a lot of reading. And these were some of the first things that came. Last thing, what I've done at the end is I just put a towel on top and I just cut the heat down. It absorbs all the steam and it will make rice fluffier. Our kabarga is kind of ready.
Sandeep, one question is asking.
Yes.
So why are you tapping the meat with the tissue? It may take out the juice of that meat, the taste of that meat.
Never. Because the oil seals it. Can you hear this?
Yeah. Oh.
The fat seals the meat completely. The only thing it's taking out is excess oil. You will not find one bit of juice from the meat coming in, and I'll show it to you. When I open it up, you'll know what I mean. The reason kabarga was finished in oil was exactly to do that. All the spices, all the goodness, all the richness of meat, the beauty of the lamb itself, all gets, as it's cooked, it flavors the meat inside. Ghee acts as a sealant, or fat acts as a sealant, wraps it all up. Now it's impossible for anyone to say that this is actually a poached piece of lamb.
Wow. Okay. Looks yummy.
40. So you should. in that milk mixture, my wife is narrating one of the questions. In that milk mixture, you should boil it for anything about 45 minutes to an hour. Eyeball it a bit. Depending on how aged the lamb is, it takes a little longer, but nothing less than 45 minutes on low heat. And keep watching it. Food and cooking is about eyeballing. It's not baking. It's not French cooking, which in itself is a great form of cooking. But we're not food. You need not be food Nazi. It's all about experience. Get it wrong. Don't worry about getting things wrong. Get it wrong if you have to, but it's all about eyeballing. Different producers take longer to cook. Like nadur is one of my favorite things to eat, but the nadur that they grow over here are genetically modified ones, so you don't have to cook them for a very long time. But when I go back home and the nadur that come from Dal, they're like hearty, close to the organic stuff comes from Dal Lake itself, although it's not as organic anymore. But that's like pretty hearty hard. It takes a little longer to cook. I will get rid of my oil, switch this off. My whole bench is looking like a mess. Pulav is pretty much done. We shall get the pulav.
Atlok dam.
Sandeep ji, do you know
Asalpur.
Sohanlal Kaul from Melbourne?
Honestly, Yanbu Yochu Samut, I've had little interaction because I've been always doing something. Mege Wenchmit over very game, but Godarudus no job say. So I might have met him in one of the functions, but I may not know them.
He had that restaurant there, was one. He's basically a scientist, but he had the was one.
I'm sorry, not able to hear you.
Still has a tandoor in his house from the Wasman. Yes, and the dishes. We happened to visit him. He's my relative. He's my cousin brother.
Namaskar. I'm sure if hopefully it's a lockdown on Mermit, Sydney is getting more messed up than Melbourne. But once the lockdown ends, I intend to be a bit more social than I have been. It's just that with the commitments after MasterChef and the commitments before, because I was very new, did not allow me a lot of time to be social here. As to Pulav Gomut Wargar Asalpet Tayar, what you should do is just take a spoon or a fork and fluff it up, and I'll show you. You can see each of the grains. It's still hot, and if it is this hot and still not sticky, as it cools down, it's going to be like better and better. So we'll just leave this up.
We have a question from Indu, who's been doing a fabulous job managing the whole event for us. Do you get feedback from your wife in cooking?
My wife is listening.
So, that is why, like, so
this is
there is no better way to be truthful, right?
That was a strategically placed question.
क्या मरा वन क्या वन भाई मेशी किस्मत भगवान ही जानी कैसे आसुन किस्मत की उस खानदर कैसे आसुन वार कर कल भी नहीं आता 8 सेकंड और कुछ I'm blessed to have her in my life. She's the pillar of my strength. If it wasn't for her, MasterChef wasn't possible. She has sacrificed a lot. I mean, she had just come to Melbourne. She was here only for about 4 months. She didn't know the city. She was in a new job, taking care of our son. And for MasterChef is a full-time commitment. Like you got to, back in those days, you had to stay there 24/7. I could only meet my family once every 2 weeks, and I could talk to them on FaceTime on Sunday. So she's the reason for everything that I am in MasterChef. Any feedback that she gives is a feedback that I proudly wear.
Nice.
Sandeep ji, what was like post MasterChef?
Life post MasterChef has been like a swan song. It was hard. COVID kind of hit me very hard. I had quit my job to pursue food as a career. But I mean, things took a bad turn with COVID. I made a huge mark on social media. I was planning to do a few gigs in India as well, but wo ho nahi paya. But it's been pretty good. I've I've become like this voice of Indian food in Australia. Post my season, you will see that MasterChef stopped calling things curries, and even the contestants started calling the dishes by their names. Like aloo bangan was aloo bangan and not potato and eggplant curry. So people started using asafoetida and calling it hing. And South Indian food was South Indian food. It wasn't that I'm making butter chicken and I'm gonna put some curry leaves on top of it to make it a bit more authentic. No, mate, you don't do that. Butter chicken does not have curry leaves, and if it has curry leaves, it's a gross mistake. So those things started happening, and I'm proud of it.
Very
That
nice.
is the pulav. We will.
Awesome.
Wow.
That's the Kanaguch pulav. Just add another guchi.
Very
I
good.
think this
Very
side has more guchis than the other.
Sandeep, what's your favorite dish to cook and eat?
Sambar rice, any day. And then sometimes, because I'm like a buttercoat at heart, I get the tat of eating tuk soon zamdad with tahar.
Oh, wow.
So let us plate up our kabarga as well. I've got some pudna chetting with a little bit of kashir wasal marsavangan, dried
my God.
pudna on top, just to give like a pop of color. You'll put these pieces.
Wow, look at that.
That's amazing.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm going
And I'm
to.
going to give it a last flourish of a bit of chaat masala, because it's the best friend of kabarga. You need to have, although it's not very traditionally Kashmiri thing to do, but just add a bit of chaat masala that, you know, the amchur in it cuts the richness pretty well.
All right,
So
Sandeep,
there you
so
are.
that's awesome. So we're coming to the close because we
Two
have
dishes.
to get ready for the next bit, which is the comedy show.
Absolutely.
Would you like to share something about like what you are up to next, and is there something that you want us to know?
What I'm up to next, one more no showy India Unplated is going to be telecast in Australia shortly on the 23rd of September. It's all about regional Indian cooking, and you know, if in regions we called it curry, we are calling it curry. Otherwise, it has stuff which usually the Western audience is not very used to. I'm still working full time as an IT project manager, but you know, that's how the batal comes home. But my ultimate aim is to be the voice of Indian food outside India, and be among those. Unfortunately, there are not a lot of traditional Kashmiri Pandit chefs anymore. They're very few. They're very handful. I want to be one of those people who keeps some of these dishes alive. At least can pass it on to my son, some other folks, some of the young people who are here. So that's what is up. Please go to my Instagram, I have a YouTube channel, Spice Angel. I have my website, and my spice line is going to come to India soon. So that's what's happening.
Best wishes.
Yeah,
Good luck.
that's amazing. We will share all of your social media handles and your information with the group here. We'll make sure we
Thank you.
follow you and tag you.
And enjoy.
Yes.
Please do make kabarga and
Thank
enjoy
you
yourselves.
so much. Thank you,
Thank
Sandeep.
you.
That looks delicious.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would
Thank
you
you so
like
much.
to
I'll
go
send the
to
pictures.
Masala?
I'll have these pictures on Instagram. Sorry, somebody was saying something.
Yeah, the last, I'd like to do one announcement to everyone. We would also like to remind our community that we are accepting donations towards KOA projects, programs, and charitable partnership throughout the camp. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sandeep.
Thank
And
you.
feel free to
Namaskar.
hang around. Just listen to the show after this if you want to.
Yes, I will. I'll just go mute off camera so that Sunandan can have
Yeah,
the entire stage
please
to himself.
enjoy the next hour. Thank
Thanks,
I
Sandeep.
will.
Thank you, Sandeep.
Sandeep, please still
Thank
the
you.
lemon rice is a question now. We'll connect again. Thank you.
Yeah, I will talk to you about lemon rice, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.